Welcome to the Womanhood podcast. I'm your host, Shannon, somatic and energetic integration specialist for women, founder of Somatic Body and creatress of the SomaCycle method and the Feminine Harmony program. And I'm here to inspire you to reclaim your rhythms, remember your wisdom, and root into your womanhood. Each week, I'll be discussing topics centered around our womanhood from a multifaceted somatic and energetic viewpoint, weaving together both science with spirituality and masculinity with femininity. We'll be talking cyclical natures and rhythms, intuition, instincts, ancient womb wisdom, and grounded embodiment strategies. Find yourself a cozy space and let's get started. Healing your nervous system is not about being calm all the time. It's about becoming fluent in your own energy. Knowing when to soften, when to hold, when to let go, when to rise, when to fall. It's learning when to simply regulate from a dysregulated state, or when it's time to optimize and take advantage of the full potential of the phase or era of life that you are in. Welcome to the Womanhood podcast. We are going to be talking about dysregulation, regulation, and optimization of the nervous system. Now, when we're talking about dysregulation, what we're referring to is this disconnection from internal safety, specifically correlated with the nervous system when we're talking about dysregulated nervous system. You know, it's in the name. But dysregulation can also mean a disconnect from safety on an energetic level, on an emotional level, on a mental body level as well. Not just the physical body and the nervous system. We are more than just a physical body, and that the nervous system is said to be that which connects our electrical, energetic body to our physical body. You can look at it that way. It's like it's the kind of gateway. You know, I talked about the mind in a previous episode, that mind being that gateway between the physical body and the metaphysical. This is like, you could think of the nervous system as being a part of that gateway. The nervous system is a part of the physical body, but it's like, it's that part that connects our physical body to the mind. You know, it's that step before the mental body. It's the part that connects our physical body to our mind. When you think about the brain, it's a part of the central nervous system. It's part of the nervous system. This is what connects our mind to our body. But I just wanted to get that definition kind of out in the open, clear it up straight away, because you hear and see a lot of hype around the word regulated nervous system, dysregulated nervous system, dysregulation. It's a very nuanced word. And so I just wanted to describe what that actually meant and what it also means in the context of what I'm going to be talking about in this episode. Dysregulation is a disconnection from our internal safety. And of course, then from that perspective, regulation means we feel this internal sense of safety. We feel connected to this sense of safety within us. Optimization, we're taking it that next step further in optimizing. So it's like going from content to happy if we're talking about the emotional body. And so when we're talking about optimization, it's like, how can we make that better? Starting with dysregulation, when we feel that sense of internal safety slipping away, when we don't feel connected to it, you know, that disconnect, it can show up as anxiety or panic or overwhelm. We can feel shut down and numb. So that's that dissociation, that disconnect. It can show up as control or perfectionism, OCD, for example. And it can also feel like freezing, which kind of plays into that numbness and that dissociation that I talked about, that freeze mode of the nervous system. So these are the different ways that our nervous system and our body can present when we feel like we're in that state of dysregulation, when we feel like our internal safety signals are not really connecting the dots and we don't feel safe, and we can't quite put our finger on it because we are dysregulated. We are not tapped into that. We feel disconnected. And so often the feeling that comes with that, you know, I talked about the ways it shows up physically: anxiety, panic, overwhelm, shutdown, freeze, feeling like controlling or perfecting things. The way that can present emotionally is like we feel off or numb and we don't know why. And that's where that freeze and shutdown comes in. It's like almost confusion, right? It's this like numbness, low level confusion and just low point. And then when we look at it from a mental body perspective, we're looking at beliefs and stories of negativity, negative spirals, or buying into a martyrdom role or a perfectionism role, or a compulsive need to fix and control something that is ultimately not in your control. This is where the mental body tries to take over, because if we can control our environment, we can keep ourselves safe, because there's that disconnect from our internal safety system. And so that's how the mental body would play into it. Energetically, again, it's similar to the emotions. It's more of a subtle body. We feel like something is off, but we just can't quite put our finger on it. Intuitively, we know we are not at our best, but we feel like our spark has gone, essentially. When it comes to the energetic body, the soul body, we feel like we've lost our spark and our drive and our passion, our aliveness, our vitality for life. So these are the ways that it can present, just so that we can start to familiarize ourselves with what that really means, what that looks like on a somatic level, on a 4-body healing system level when we're looking at all 4 bodies. And if we can familiarize ourselves with that, we can start to understand ourselves and our patterns a little better and start to identify them on a deeper level, and therefore start to address our own nervous system states, our own ways of being, and have a little more grace and a little more connection, a little more compassion for ourselves in these moments of dysregulation, regulation, optimization. And we can also have more choice. If we have more understanding, more wisdom of what's happening for ourselves, we can then make more conscious, more aligned, and more intentional choices and more intentional actions from there. We can have more clarity. And so when we start to understand these 3 states, the dysregulated state, the regulated state, and the optimized state of the nervous system, of the physical body, of being in a state of safety or feeling a lack of safety, we can start to realize that this is a kind of a natural thing over our lifetime that just happens. You know, we can't just stay, and I do explain this with the masculine and feminine. It's not possible to just stay in one state forever. Nothing stays the same. There is always a change, a movement, an evolution of the ways of being. And so when we can start to understand these 3 ways of being and understand that that's just a part of life, you're not always going to feel optimized. You're not always going to feel regulated and content either. Sometimes you will feel low. If we can start to recognize that it's not a flaw, it's just a response from lived experiences when we get to that point of dysregulation, or when we get to the point of regulation but we're not feeling our best. And, you know, say for example we have that people pleasing role and we're trying to feel more optimized, feel more safe so that we can perform, so that we can be our best in front of people. Like me in front of the camera right now, I have Achilles tendonitis. I don't feel my best, but I'm not going to show up and pretend that I feel 100% better if that's not where I'm at. I accept that. I come back to that compassion because I understand that that's where I'm at. And so yes, being dysregulated or regulated or feeling content or low, it's not a flaw. It's just a normal part of life. It's a normal phase of life. And you have the choice to understand that, come back to nurturing yourself, come back to compassion, self-compassion, and make a choice from there and be in that and feel we're removing that disconnect. And also within that disconnect, learning to accept that there's a moment of disconnect and not rushing to try and reconnect. Often when we try to reconnect with ourselves, when we're feeling numb or dissociated or disconnected from that sense of safety, pushing makes it feel less safe. And so we're often actually going backwards when we're trying to push to feel connected. And so again, this is where we come back to having compassion. You know, it's a wave. It's not a destination. Being optimized is not the destination, the final destination that never changes. It comes in cycles, in waves, in rhythms, especially as women. We are rhythmic beings. And so now I'm going to go through some tools to help you go from dysregulated to regulated, and then from there, from regulated to optimized. When we find ourselves in that moment of dysregulation, again, it's not about forcing. Forcing will often make it go backwards, go the other way. What we do want to do is arrive where we are at, be okay with where we are at. I would say acceptance is the very first thing. Recognizing that you're dissociated or you're feeling disconnected, that you are dysregulated is the first thing. Accepting it's the second thing. And then we can come into these practices to gently nurture ourselves with non-attachment of what the outcome is, but to gently create that sense of safety. Because at the end of the day, we are feeling disconnected from our body, from our nervous system, from that sense of safety because we are not feeling safe. Pretty simple, right? And so if we're going to have some kind of expectation or pressure that we're putting on ourselves in a moment where we're feeling dysregulated, that's not going to work. We need to come into this with real humility of this is where I'm at, acceptance, and then from there moving with a gentleness, with a self-compassion, with a real reverence for our body, for ourselves, our entire body, all 4 bodies, and move through these practices I'm about to give you with non-attachment to the outcome. That's like the next thing. So for the physical body, when we're feeling dysregulated and we want to get to regulation, again, we're not forcing the outcome of that, but when we are noticing we're dysregulated and we want to bring in that safety and come back to a more regulated state, we could do things like adjusting our posture. Often when we're dysregulated, we are hunched over, we are feeling lazy, we are feeling low, we are feeling dissociated from what actually feels good in our body in terms of body positions. Start to reconnect to the body via posture, activating certain muscles, really subtle muscles, muscles that don't require a lot of energy. These are our stabilizing muscles. They are smaller muscles that hold our spine up. We can also start to tap into, via the physical body, our breath. That's another basic, simple one. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Elongate the exhales. This will help regulate your nervous system, bring it into a calm state from sympathetic to parasympathetic. And then we can just rest in that body position, that shift of posture, or even just, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm going to create a sanctuary of rest. I'm going to romanticize myself to bring back some senses and some feeling into me because I'm feeling dysregulated. My last podcast episode talked about romanticizing yourself. So go ahead and listen to that one as well if that sounds more like your thing. Rest, romanticize yourself in the rest. So these are the different tools you can use for your physical body to address your physical body when you're feeling dysregulated. And I would say start with the physical body because this is where it begins. We feel detached from that body. Let's address that. When it comes to the mental body, when we're feeling dysregulated and we want to become regulated again, we can start to notice things like our language, our stories, our beliefs, our words when we're communicating with people, how we are expressing ourselves. Start to pay attention to your mindset and your perception of things. Do you have the opposite of rose-colored glasses on right now? Because that's typically the opposite of optimization. We have more of like, again, I talked about that negative spiral previously. We have those negative, we'll call them negative Nancy glasses on. Pay attention to your negative Nancy glasses. That's the mental body. Start to journal so that you can become more aware of it. That's a practice you could do for the mental body to address your dysregulated state. And that creates a sense of mental stability, mental safety. Without pushing, without overperforming, without the expectation of anything. You're just going to journal or notice your thoughts, sit with your thoughts and be with them. Notice what flows. This is one of my favorite things, actually. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Have a pen and paper, a writing pad, and just write. Even if it doesn't make sense, just write what is in your brain. Just brain dump that out onto the sheet. You could do the same with art. Just draw what you want to draw for those 10 minutes. Just let it all out without the expectation of what comes next or without the analysis of what is happening in the moment. Just be in that flow. That'll help you drop back into your body too because you're physically doing something. Then when it comes to the emotional body, ways you can regulate from a dysregulated state or bring some more safety into your emotional body, feeling emotionally safe. We can start to release when we feel this buildup of emotions or when we feel numb in our emotions. We can start to encourage a release of emotions or perhaps a tracking of emotions. So we're not pushing for the release of the emotions through somatic practices or through simple things like crying or breathing and allowing ourselves to release, but also creating that sense of safety by just asking ourselves, how do I feel in my emotions right now? And just noticing, take the pressure off. You don't have to cry. You don't have to do a somatic practice. You don't have to do anything. Just notice where your emotions are at. And even if it's numb and that's all you can say is, I don't know where my emotions are at. I don't know. It's like, that's okay. It's okay to not know. Just nurture your emotional body. Affirm for your emotional body. It's okay. Put some touch into your heart space, into your chest space, and affirm to your emotional body, to your body, it's okay to not know what you're feeling right now, or it's okay to feel this overwhelming feeling right now. I've got you. Words of affirmation are really big for the emotions, and the eyes are the other big thing. Gaze into a mirror and allow the tears to flow if that's what feels right for you. Gaze into a mirror and affirm to yourself, I've got you. Where you are at, I've got you, no matter where you're at. So that's a practice that you can do to address your emotional body in a dysregulated state and to encourage it into a regulated state. Then we have the energetic body, the soul, the more subtle body. This is our resonance, our spirit, our vibration. This will come naturally once the other 3 bodies have been addressed. It's our most unconscious body out of the 4 bodies. And so with the spirit, we can just connect to things like nature, connect to others, co-regulation, feeling the energy of others with consent, of course. Ask, hey, could I have a bit of a support buddy right now? Can I just have someone to lean on, a shoulder to cry on, some physical touch? This is an energetic exchange. Whatever creates that safety for your energy body to feel safe. And so the energetic body, when it comes from going from dysregulated to regulated, the energy body generally gets there on its own, given that the other three bodies have been addressed. And so that's why I finished with the energetic body. There isn't really a lot to do other than to connect to collective energies, go out in nature, collect with another being, ask them if it's okay to connect, touch a tree, ground your feet in the ground, gaze upon the surf, touch the water, connect with the water. These are ways we can go from dysregulated to regulated. Again, without the pressure, without pushing or forcing, just inviting it in, creating that sense of safety by just nurturing and inviting, I've got you, body. Then when it comes to regulated, being in a kind of content, stable space where we do feel safe inside our body, we want to optimize and elevate that, right? Not all the time, sometimes. For example, as women, as cyclical beings, when we start to build up in the follicular phase up to ovulation, the peak, this is when we are at our most high energy, when we get to that point to take advantage of, really, and just like be our best selves, because we're not always going to be our best selves, and that's okay. It's a part of the opposite of perfectionism. And I mean, really, you're not just here to regulate, you're here to optimize. The capacity to experience life is endless, so why not tap into that when we are feeling our best? But when we are feeling regulated and content and stable, how do we go from that to feeling our best so that we can experience the best of life? So let's get into some practices for going from regulated to optimized. We have vagus nerve touch points. Now, I'm just going to go through all the points without going through all four bodies for this one. We have vagus nerve touch points. So soft pressure behind the ears, over the chest, under the feet, gentle hums, getting your vocal cords going, releasing the throat. We have the name it to tame it practice, which is where we label sensations without judgment. We just hear for our body. Again, this is where the confidence of it starts to come in. I got you, body. I got you. I can observe you and be okay with where we're at because I love you, right? My chest feels tight. My jaw feels frozen, acknowledging that and being cool with that, and then just like going about the day with where we are at. Because if we allow those things to get in our minds, again, get into those spiraling negative downward loops, we cannot be our best and optimize and get to where we need to go in our day to experience life. So if we can just be super quick at accepting where we're at, we can move through it really quick as well, because we love ourselves. If we really want to describe optimization, it's the ultimate epitome of self-love and like power stance. I got you, girl. Again, posture starts to become more of that of like superwoman. We feel more confident, we feel more empowered, and so we can do things like gratitude practices, things like mirror work, but instead of mirror gazing and softening, it's like giving yourselves the I got you talk, like we got this. This is also the time where we want to go from regulated to optimize to do the 7-day meeting your edges challenge. That's a challenge that I've set. And this is where we wake up every morning. We ask ourselves, what is something new that I've been wanting to do that I just have kept putting off because it feels like a bit of an edge for me? Not like so far out of reach that it's making me feel overwhelmed, but like I feel excited to try that now. A little bit scared, but mostly excited. And that's essentially what meeting your edge is. And you do that for like 7 days or however many days you feel aligns for you. Just wake up every morning going, what's that new thing I'm going to do today? Or what's that thing I've been putting off that I'm going to conquer today because I'm feeling my best right now? And I'm going to go into that mirror and go, we got this. Let's do this. So that's just another simple thing. Words of affirmation in front of a mirror work. Vagus nerve touch points to get you from regulated to optimize. Start to stimulate the vagus nerve. Tone it. We've got the gentle hums, the voice activation. We've got the name it to tame it practice, which is where we kind of name where we're feeling in our body, what's going on there, and like, that's cool. We are where we're at. I accept you. I've got you, body. I love you, body. And then we've got that romanticizing ourselves, but not from the state of rest. I talked about resting and romanticizing ourselves, setting up the bedroom, feeling like we are at full, complete rest. When we're going from regulated to optimized and we're wanting to do things and experience the most out of life, when we're romanticizing ourselves in that context, it's more about like, how do I want to dress for my day? What makeup do I want to put on? How do I want my hair styled to feel really good and really confident? Do I want to buy myself flowers today because I feel like I want flowers. Do I want to go pick my own wildflowers today? Romanticizing yourself also helps you optimize as well and get the most out of life. Literally go for a walk and smell the roses. Notice the birds and the bees. Appreciate every little thing you see out in nature. And then the last thing you can do for yourself to help optimize from a regulated state is to do things like somatic practices, energy work. Go see a Reiki practitioner. Go get a massage. Go to the spa for a day. Just because you are regulated and feeling good does not mean you don't deserve to feel even better. Draw yourself a warm bath at the end of the day, because why not? Who cares if it's summer? Chuck the AC on, get a bath going, light some candles. You've had a great hardworking day, reward yourself for it. And this is also the time where, if we want to optimize and get the most out of life, we can do visualization practices and start to really amplify that energy of like, I'm aware of what I'm capable of right now because I got my back and I'm feeling really confident. Let's amplify that by visualizing futuristically. So that's another practice you can do, is visualize when we want to go from regulated to optimize, make it an even better life. So those are all the tools I would happily list off from going from dysregulated to regulated and then from regulated to optimize. When it comes to knowing for ourselves when we're feeling dysregulated, regulated, and optimized, how can we know that, right? We're all individuals, but yet we all have a nervous system. We all have a body that works relatively the same in terms of physical body and biology and anatomy. But then we all have these emotional bodies, mental bodies, and energetic bodies that are our unique kind of imprint. We've all experienced certain things, so we all think a certain way and perceive things a certain way. So how do we know when we ourselves, internally, our internal safety is feeling detached and we're dysregulated? Or is feeling pretty content, feeling pretty safe, or is feeling really good and confident and optimized? How do we know that for ourselves? Well, you're going to know when you're regulated, and you're going to really know when you're optimized because you're going to be feeling great. But the question is, how do I know and feel that in my body when I'm dysregulated? You can ask yourself, what does safety feel like in my body? That's number one. And am I feeling that right now based on that answer? Those are the two questions. Ask yourself, what does safety feel like in my body? And if the answer is no, it's most likely that you're in a dysregulated state. You could also know by backtracking at the start of this conversation, at the start of this podcast episode, looking at what dysregulated looks like, the presentations, anxiety, feeling low, feeling the need to control everything in your life because you feel like everything's out of control and you don't feel safe. Familiarizing yourself with that as well. And say you do ask yourself, what does safety feel like in my body? Because you feel like maybe you might be dysregulated, but you're not sure. Say in that moment, you go, what does safety feel like in my body? And you're like, I don't even know how to answer that right now. Well, that's your answer. It's like you're feeling so disconnected that you don't even know how to answer that. That's your answer. You are dysregulated to an extent because you cannot even tap into what safety feels like. You feel disconnected to safety. So that could be another answer, another way that question feels for you when you ask, what does safety feel like in my body? You might not have that answer. We want to learn and start to familiarize ourselves. What makes us feel safe? What makes me feel safe enough to soften? And so that's why that's like a really useful question. What makes me feel safe in my body? Because based on that answer, you're going to know if you're dysregulated, if you're regulated, if you're optimized, and also based on what does make you feel safe in your body, how to get back there. So I hope this episode was really useful. I've given you lots of tips and tools, lots of things to look for, lots of things to familiarize yourself with in terms of presentation and how the body or the bodies presents when we're in those states of the nervous system, dysregulated, regulated, optimized. Also, I've inspired you to not only be okay with the mundane, to romanticize yourself, to go for that state of optimization when you're feeling regulated and safe enough to do so. It's not always going to be the answer to optimize. You don't want to force yourself from a dysregulated state into optimization and just like force yourself to go out and be extroverted and put on a brave face, because that's not authentically where you're at right now. We need that self-compassion. So if you want to do the deeper work, go ahead and listen to my previous episode where I talked about romanticizing yourself. And also you can have a look at my Pain Body Decoder course, which I just released this week. It goes into the pain body, but not from just that literal sense of pain. And when we're feeling chronic pain or discomfort, or some kind of dis-ease in the body, it also goes into the pain body from a perspective of all the metaphysical aspects and when we're feeling generally dysregulated as well. So how to get back from, feeling off in the body and that pain body is arcing up, how to get from that to a more regulated state again, how to understand and decode what our signs and symptoms are in the body, whether it's pain, discomfort, itching, a weird presentation in the body, a sore area of the body, whatever's presenting. The Pain Body Decoder course will decode that for you, but it's self-exploratory. You explore that for yourself. It's not someone else telling you that. You reclaim your own sovereignty and build that trust and connection with your body again. So if that sounds like something you want to go deeper with, like something you really want to take on, I'll pop the link for the Decoder Body course. It's a 7-day mini course just in the caption below with its link. And I'll see you next week where I'm going to be breaking down psychosomatics, but specifically for the females. So we're going to be talking about more of the female related things such as breasts, ovaries, the womb space, the energetic body, the emotional body. We're going to be looking at psychosomatics specifically for the females. I'll see you next week. As we finish this week's episode, remember that you are your own rhythm keeper. So just keep listening for that rhythm and keep coming home to you. Until next time, with love, Shannon at Somatic Body.